Hello and welcome to today's podcast, the David Rich Music Podcast, that is. Clever, eh? And today I'm going to be looking at a fantastic singer-songwriter who unfortunately is no longer with us, but his music will live on forever. He was one of my favourites and probably many of you as well. Incredible his music was, and he was viewed as probably one of the best singer-songwriters from his generation by none other than Elton John and Benny Taupin and many others as well. Looked at him as actually the ultimate. So the question I'm also going to look at, as well as looking at how we constructed his songs and how we actually come up with the melodies and the words and lyrics, everything, we're going to look at, did he copy songs to make music? So keep watching and we'll get into that now. Okay, so really going back to the last podcast when I did about how to write a hit song for today, follow a certain formula and have a number one. Okay, it maybe takes a bit more than just copying this formula, but if you use this formula, you'll have a better chance of achieving success. But coming on to successful people, today we're looking at George Michael, of course, who was, as I say, one of the best singer-songwriters of his generation, and for many generations, to be fair. Now, don't get me wrong, George Michael was very aware of, when he was writing his songs, he was aware of the commercial side of music, how it needed to be, and the power of marketing. But when he actually come to the lyrics and the melodies of constructing his songs, he says he felt, taking from an article that I've read many articles on George Michael about the history of how he was, how he grew up and how he got into music and everything else, but we're looking specifically about his songwriting methods. And it's very different to many, but it's also to say that when he wrote his songs, he didn't actually think of it from the commercial aspect or the marketing side of things. He just wanted to go with the flow and what felt right within his head on the melody side of things and the lyrics as well. Now, he did aim for a particular type of sound, whichever sort of era he was in, or wherever he was writing his albums, the 5 albums that he wrote and sung, he always had a specific sound in mind. Now George went on to say that, although he took all these influences from, say, from the album Make It Big, was inspired by the black sounds of the 60s and 70s, while fantastic, reflected the music he'd been listening to over the previous 5 years. Because, say, in music, there isn't really any originality. So, George was very unapologetic about the influences in his music, believing that true originality in music is very rare. And it is. I mean, there's many things going on now. I know Ed Sheeran has had sort of issues in the past where people say they've copied the music, and, a C is a C chord. It doesn't matter who plays it, it's a C chord or a chord progression, C, G, A minor, F, whatever. It's used in many, many songs. But George really wanted to develop his own style and went through many changes. And I think one of the things that he did have, although he wasn't blessed with talent, because talent is a nonsense. Talent is really, it could be replaced with hard work. He worked incredibly hard developing his own voice and his unique sound. What he was blessed with is the tone to his voice, his vocals. I've tried singing George Michael songs. Have a look on my channel at the music ones. I've done a couple. I do sing them when I do a live performance, and I have to do them my own way. I was after going to the Frank Sinatra my way, but no, I have to do them. I did it my way, but I have to do them my way because you can't replicate the tone and the whole charisma of what George Michael was. I was very fortunate to see him perform live, and he's incredible. His personality comes across. He really did come across, and all the stories you hear about him, helping others, and it was so sad that he didn't have the time to enjoy fully the life that he had. Now, George, when he was writing his music, he looks back over the many years, over the past 50 years, and I'm going to come on to one of his, well, it is his most famous song, the one that really got him going as a solo artist when he moved away from Wham. What he did when he was looking at his songs, he was wanting to do them what was natural for him. And now that's an important thing for most singer-songwriters. You need to sing in your own natural way. Do not try to fake it into somebody else's voice, because it doesn't work. And George developed his own vocal sound, if you like, and he felt more comfortable with how he sounded, and that's why it sounded so flipping good. I nearly swore again. I've got to swear. I've stop swearing. Right, okay. And he also went on about, George says about his balance between musical and lyrical expression. The strength he felt laying the music and really conveying his personal or political messages through lyrics was something that he didn't really set out to do, although there were very strong messages in some of his songs, but they were all very much a storytelling musical experience, if you like, most of George Michael's songs. And, he really did, he believed that his audience appreciated his musical abilities over his personal politics, and he preferred to let his music do the speaking for him. Going back, when he mentioned and he's reflected on the participation in Band Aid, now George noticed while the project did a lot of good, he felt compelled to do a lot more than just contribute his time. So this led to Wham actually donating all the royalties from The Last Christmas to the Ethiopian appeal, demonstrates his commitment to making a tangible difference. It's well known now, and more has come out about his charitable ways and how he helps many people. I just wish more could have helped George, but, I don't know, sometimes some of our greatest, the Freddie Mercury, etc., unfortunately have troubles in their own life. I don't know what it's like. I've never been at that level of fame, and we don't know, how it would affect. You see, I look and I worry, Justin Bieber, Britney Spears. It's huge, the effect. And I look also at the likes of Elton John, who we know that, that film is fantastic, by the way, the Rocket Man one. Wish that George could have got something that Elton had discovered when he got married, and, I think it certainly changed his path. And he does amazing work as well. I think he's one of the largest contributors of charities is Elton John. And this is the thing. George had a lot of care within him, and unfortunately he didn't enjoy the full life that I think he deserved, because he gave so much pleasure, and he still does with his music. But anyway, back to George and his songs. You see, George is a big record collector. Like myself, I have lots of records, vinyls from years back. But I did start out as a DJ. I used to be in all the clubs, thousands of records, and I used to talk a lot. Then DJing has changed a bit since then. But George Michael was an avid record collector, and he started, I believe, with his Motown records. Like myself, many Motown songs which were handed down from his parents. He loved artists with strong melodies. We've already mentioned the likes of Elton John and Queen. He wasn't really into the punk and the rock tie, although he wasn't against them. It just wasn't something he did. Very much like myself, musically, it wasn't something that particularly appealed to him. And I've no problem, people all like different things, whether it's music, food, or holiday places, whatever. We've all got different things to do and enjoy. And I say, the punk music didn't really do a lot for him. It doesn't for me, but as I say, each to their own. Now, very much like myself, he was into the sort of sexy vibes. I like that sound in songs. And the similarities with ourselves end there, because George was an incredible performer. As I said, I was privileged to see him live. And another aspect of George was, people always say that he was blessed. He was, I believe, with the tone of his voice, but he was gifted. He was given this incredible gift, and he's so talented. And this is used all the time with people. And to be honest, it's an absolute nonsense. Anybody can actually do anything, get really good at it, but they have to work hard at it. And George also looked into, and this is something I believe in strongly, is that you have to understand all aspects of the business, music business, because you are in a business. Any musicians out there who thinks they can just go out and sing a nice song and get paid and do well with it, business financially, they're kidding themselves. They need to learn every aspect. So I always say, and George looked into learn how to mix better and what happened in the production and the mixing and mastering and the sounds that he used. And he also wanted his music to sound a natural way. So, the way to do this, he was able to actually, through his interest in learn to production and mixing and the mastering of his music, he could create the sound that he imagined in his head, if you like. Now, although George didn't really play instruments, in his early life, he did start with the violin and drums, but it wasn't really him. So he really, was certainly much more on the vocal side of things, and it didn't do him that much harm, did it? Now, keeping with the technical side, when it comes to a lot of the tracks on the album Make It Big, including Wake Me Up Before You Go Go and Careless Whisper, they say that they were recorded in one take to keep and capture that authentic feel of the songs. I really do. I mean, this is, again, I'm comparing myself to George Michael, which is ridiculous, but I do. When I do a cover or my own songs, I do sing it once. If I make mistakes, okay, if it's for a production, then I would alter something. But I do believe that you need to keep things real. Have little glitches in there because that's normal. But what it also does is make the sound so much better. You can tell when somebody's sung the same line 40 times just to get it perfect. I think it isn't perfect though, because it sounds fake. So just let it be natural. And also George did really, certainly in his Wham days when he was with Andrew originally, in the music industry, they rejected the traditional rock and roll lifestyle, focusing instead on the professionalism. And I know I've seen clips of George. He was very much, everything had to be absolutely right, and people doing the jobs that they're supposed to be doing, and rightly so. If you wanted to sound good, you have to take control of things. George Michael's approach to songwriting was a blend of honouring his influences over the years, but at the same time striving for authenticity. Now, his ability to create memorable melodies and his dedication to perfecting his craft they've left a massive indelible mark on the music world, and it'd be sadly missed. I must admit, it's there was so much more music to come from George Michael, and I thought he was actually getting better the longer he was going on. Now, coming on to this one. This was his biggest hit, Faith. It was written and produced entirely by George Michael himself. And this was really to showcase his singer-songwriter and his musicianship. But there are a few stories about the hit. Some sources claim the initial idea came from producer Dick Leahy, suggesting Michael write a rock and roll parody song. So it wasn't strictly supposed to be a serious song, this. But and the image change that came about with this song, it was a break from the bubblegum pop days of Wham, and Faith has a more mature sort of rock and roll R&B sound to it, and this was him trying to be taken more seriously. And the title, although it was called Faith, it had absolutely nothing to do with faith as in a religious sense. For George, it represented a personal hope and optimism at the time, and he liked the strong meaning of the word. Words are very important, and you know, to use them, especially when you're writing songs and lyrics into songs. Interestingly, Faith wasn't actually planned as a single. After some positive feedback during recording, Michael extended the song and added the iconic guitar aspect to it to make it a stronger contender. As someone who myself loves the history of music, I've looked back over the years, all the different sounds from the early 50s and beyond, really. But the sound in Faith, there's an artist going back, Bo Diddley, who used to play the guitar, and it's amazing he didn't copy, but it was certainly influential. And it's like a lot of the, certainly in George's music, the black sounds from years ago have influenced the sounds in his songs. I can hear a lot of it from, because I like listening to the old soul and old melodies. But this particular one, Bo Diddley, is a famous guitar sound. Now I'm going to play this, and if you look and you Google, certainly on YouTube, Bo Diddley, and you listen to the sound from that, it's a strumming pattern. Let me get my guitar, grab my guitar and do this. So the Bo Diddley was something like that. Now what George Michael did add was a pressing onto the strings themselves. It doesn't sound as good because it's actually semi-acoustic, but it's better, this particular guitar, when it's plugged into some sound. But we're doing it this way. So with the George Michael, it was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So copyright law, that was Bo Diddley. So that was years ago. So there you go, the guitar sound. And to say, it's not copying, it's like George said, there's nothing truly original in music. It's all been done many, many times before. As I mentioned as well earlier about Ed Sheeran, you know, the number of artists that have tried to take him and other. It's usually some big artists, but not quite as big as the one that they're taking. I wonder why that is. Okay, nobody has a right to a C chord or a G chord or a minor or a chord progression. You know, they're just out there. And of course, there will be similarities. Now, I did a song myself, and I had it, I don't know what it was, but I had it in my head that it sounded like something else. I'm not going to say it just in case it is, but, you know, are you influenced by something you've heard as a singer-songwriter, and then you think of something, is it real? Are you copying? I don't believe so. I think if it was, I won't go into it because with copyright now it's extremely difficult. I have another YouTube channel that does other types of music, and I've had a few attempts at having, you know, where music producers have come and asked for a copyright strike on me, simply because in some of the cases I use the same synth sounds in the production music that I do, and with the same DAW, the music software, and of course there's going to be similarities. It's like if someone plays a C on a saxophone and someone else plays a C on a C note on a saxophone, they're going to be pretty close. Maybe slightly different styles, but there isn't going to be much different. So, you know, none of us are really unique in any event anyway. So we just make the sounds that we make. Occasionally there'll be a crossover and have a similarity to another song. And George felt this as well. I think that's fine, you know. George's songs, they're incredible. So I'm going to go through a list of some, because to say he made, let's say, the 5 albums, the solo studio albums. Faith, that was the debut album that sold over 25 million at the time worldwide. I don't know how many now. Obviously, the music industry has changed massively. But let's have a look. As I said, it was planned as a really just an infill. It wasn't really going to be a single, but after positive feedback, he made it. And it was a chart-topping hit with that iconic music video. One thing I know he won't have been doing will have been playing that guitar on that video, because None of them doing the videos, because the videos, it's another part of the industry. Okay, so those songs are really, I Want Your Sex, Father Figure, and One More Try. I do actually not a copy, a version of Father Figure on this channel. Again, technically one take, few little mistakes in there. Have a listen if you want, but it's not George Michael. Somebody says I sound nothing like George Michael. I thought, thank you. I know I don't. I don't need to be told. Somebody said the same about me singing a Coldplay song. Yes, I know I don't sound like so Coldplay, but it is all live and taken in one go. Okay, say no more on that. That's coming up in another podcast when we're looking at live performers. And are they really live? Or are they cheating us? Now, George, back in 1990, released the album Listen Without Prejudice, Volume 1. So obviously there was in the back of his mind there was going to be some more volumes. Unfortunately, they never came to be. In this particular album, he never appeared in any of the videos in the promotion of the songs themselves, taken from this angle. For example, the Praying for Time and Freedom 90, they're very successful, but you didn't see him in any of the video promotional promotions for the song itself. And coming on then for the next album, Older, that was released in 96. This introspective album explored themes of love, loss and aging. Also marked a return to a more personal songwriting style for Michael. It featured tracks such as Fast Love, the dance poppy one, and the Spinning Wheel, and the title track Older, a ballad reflecting on life experiences. I think that's such a lovely song, is that one. Okay, now George in 1999 released Songs from the Last Century. This was an album that's a collection of cover versions of popular songs from the 20th century. It had many classics in there, but Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? It really does give how he was influenced. I hear those type of sounds in a lot of his music, even when he's not really saying he's going for that sound, but it's always there. It's a soulful rendition as well of The Long and Winding Road by the Beatles. It's a fantastic album, it really is. I think it's one that he really demonstrates that if you do a cover version, you don't have to do it karaoke style for it to be good. If anything, you can actually make the original song not the best version of it. I'm not saying that George went out for that, but some of those songs on there are absolutely incredible. The Beatles song, The Long and Winding Road, it's a beautiful song when it's done by the Beatles. And I think it is by George. Which one is the best? I don't know if they're different. And this is the critical point. They are very different. Now, George's final studio album, Patience, in 2004. It contained a mix and there was collaborations in there with other artists, and it went more to a poppy orientated sound, if you like. But the album included a hit single, Amazing, and it is amazing. That's a fantastic dance floor song. Also, collaboration with artists like Mary J. Blige, Elton John. George Michael. It was a big loss to the music, those who appreciated his music. But I think in general, he was, he did a lot for music, and he highlighted a lot of issues with the music industry and the labels, how they used artists, and they're still trying to do this today and affect, and control everything. But you don't need to do this. You need to be your own person. If you're a singer-songwriter, look at yourself and take a more business-like approach. The be-all and end-all is not being with a big label anymore. Okay, so as I say, George, unfortunately no longer with us, as we know. His music will live on forever because he was fantastic. And coming up, I've got a really interesting. I'm going to look over one of my, I suppose, minor successes in terms of YouTube views. A song, pretty recent song. I just wanted to do this particular song that I was influenced by it and how I came about to write that song. Although I've created many songs and production music over the years, I very much am now focused on my own music, and I don't even bother with Spotify, and I concentrate on YouTube and my live performances. Now, this is something for musicians. If you want to learn how to create a business model for yourself, if you're a gigging musician, you need to keep watching this, because you will learn how to approach music in a totally different way. I can assure you it will make a massive difference to your gigging revenue, and you need to be doing something that you're not doing now, because if you're moaning about going out doing gigs for little money, there's a reason for that. We're going to go into that in the future, but the next one is going to be about my song that I did and how I wrote it, because people like to see. So I hope you like my little bit with the guitar. If you didn't, I'm not really bothered, but it was just to demonstrate the sound of the song. Okay, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and all the rest of it. Now, before I go, I nearly forgot, I'm looking for artists, whether they're established, new, or any aspects of the business. I want to involve them in do future podcasts with them, because this podcast is a new side to me. I enjoy talking with other people in the industry, and I'm wanting, someone who's got an interesting story to come get in touch with me, and we can have a podcast and look at their music journey so far, whether they're, as I say, a successful artist or some just starting out. It'd be interesting for other people who are not musicians but enjoy music to see how things are in the industry. Okay, thanks for watching. Take care, everybody. And from me, David Rich, and the David Rich Music Podcast. See you next time. Bye for now.